Hello and welcome to a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. Today we are doing...
What's your moment of the week actually, Kev? Should we do that?
Yeah, okay, moment of the week is obviously Chilcot, isn't it? That's the thing. Well, the moment was the Sun taking down some stuff from their website, which was where I'd forgotten about this. In 2003, must have been 2003, really nasty pro-war stuff, where you could cut out pictures of Charles Kennedy and put it on a target or shoot it or something like that. I think it was an online game as well. Shoot the traitors. Nice. The Sun actually took that down, so, which is obviously it's not like they think they're still right. It shows that they know they're not right. In 2016, that's how long it took.
Yeah. I haven't caught up on Question Time from last night.
I didn't see it.
But I watched Daily Politics. No, I didn't watch it, I caught up on it in the evening. And it was interesting for me, they had George Galloway on there, and I know he was on Question. It was interesting that Andrew Neil and Joe Coburn, Leicester St Matthew Paris, were hanging on every word he had to say. George Galloway is a pretty vilified sort of character.
So they didn't do the big character assassination that they always do?
No. They were hanging on every word he had to say, and they were listening to what he actually had to say.
That's really interesting, isn't
That
it?
is sort of...
Sea change.
Yeah, that was a sea change moment. No, I'm pretty sure that, George Galloway is not going to suddenly be a wonderful person in this establishment of the media's eyes now.
Yeah.
But it was sort of... It underlined how serious that the Chilcot report was.
Yeah. Because it's not... I mean, Corbyn is one thing. Galloway, that's another thing entirely.
Yeah.
Galloway's actually, he's far left. I mean, that's probably quite accurate, or certainly left, not just centre left. Corbyn is just centre left, really. Yeah, so Chilcot came out and surprisingly it wasn't a whitewash. I assume because the Blairites weren't in power, they don't have any power anymore. I assume if they were in power, it would have been a whitewash, I suppose. But I know what it's done is confirmed what everybody said at the time would happen, did happen. And everyone knew he was lying, and he was lying, and everyone knew it was a political move because he thought in order to make the Labour Party electable, you can't be anti-American, and not to be anti-American you have to agree with everything they ever say. It was literally that. I believe I'm right. That's not what they concluded.
Yeah, I entered into this in good faith.
Yeah, they concluded that he did it politically, not that he believed it.
It is peculiar because nothing particularly has entered into the domain, which is surprising. It has been widely considered that Tony Blair lied. Although apparently the report didn't conclude that the intelligence was misleading and it wasn't sufficiently questioned. Well, okay. Tony Blair is saying, please don't say I'm lying because I'm not lying and I entered this into good faith. I was there at the time, I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
Well, why does that let you off the hook?
Yeah. Even if he hadn't, he's still done something.
Yeah. It's a bit like, imagine you heard a story, in a scenario where a kid is in court for beating up a man because his friend asked him to come and beat him up because he'd made some inappropriate gestures towards his girlfriend or something like that.
It turns out it's not true.
Yeah. And the kid turned out, he tried to talk him out of it, make sure he was absolutely sure that something had happened or whatever. Would you take that into consideration?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I didn't know. It's not America. I can still punch someone in the face or kill thousands of people. And there's phrases Blair said, this will be my epitaph. And I imagine in 2000 when they fudged the American election, he was like, oh no! and it felt like something happened to Blair's brain in 2001.
Well, Steve Richards wrote a really interesting article in The Guardian about it. He cast it in a slightly different light, saying that Tony Blair wanted to prove that a Labour Prime Minister could work with a Republican President. And that's what it was really all about. I really like Steve Richards, and I think there's an element of truth to that. I think there's a sort of Tony Blair's modernising the Labour Party in his head. He's on a crusade, modernise the Labour Party.
It was his bad luck. He had a completely sort of one-dimensional guy he had to phone up and talk to. I'm going to kick some ass. Are you with me? With you all the way.
But I mean, it seems to me that George Bush, I don't think, was particularly bothered whether Tony Blair was with him or not.
No, it didn't matter.
This is more like Tony Blair saying, can I be on the bandwagon? Can I be on the bandwagon as well?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It wasn't about a transatlantic thing. It was about politics. It was about getting the Labour Party liked. We like Americans, so we have to agree with this lunatic who the Americans don't like.
Yeah. So people are quite happy that Chilcott has come out and been quite hard on Tony Blair, but realistically, we've got to look at this now. We're on politics is in serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean, all those months of us complaining there was no news.
Well,
everything's gone into meltdown.
Well, look at the legacy of the recent batch of leaders since including Tony Blair, and since so you got Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron. The legacy is Iraq, financial meltdown, and Brexit.
Very much politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, how far does this? You can trace it. You can trace everything that's happened back to the Iraq war. It's had, obviously, it's much worse. The effect in Iraq, and it killed loads of people. Obviously, that's much worse. But there's a political turmoil that can be traced back to that as well. I mean, in a way, it led to Brexit. Actually.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily. We don't know that completely. Know if that's a bad thing, do we? But there's lots of bad things that have happened. The Labour Party becoming unelectable, the Tory, a weak Tory party getting a majority, even though they were incredibly wishy-washy and didn't really have any. And had they not been able to get into power like that, they would have built up and got some strong character and etc. and got back in later. It all goes back to Iraq, doesn't it? People stopped voting for Labour. Really, it's the financial crash. People believed it was their fault. And Iraq.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, I mean, I was probably one of them, after the Iraq decision.
Yeah, we voted for this. I voted for that. In 97 I voted for that. I didn't in 2001. I voted Lib Dem in 2001. And when I was young, it was, really, if I'm honest with myself, really, it was, if there's any chance of the Tories getting in, I'll vote Labour. Otherwise I'll vote Lib Dem. As I've grown up, don't do that stuff. I know most people do, but you can't vote like that. And obviously that was the whole Blairite thing. Let's make it a two-party system
where both parties are the same.
You're just voting against the other people rather than actually anything you want.
Yeah, so I mean, Chilcott, there's nothing particularly unexpected in Chilcott. The ramifications are it's bolstered Jeremy Corbyn's position in the Labour Party for a while. Yeah, and
Angela Eagle is in hiding, basically.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
10 days ago, she was imminently going to launch a leadership.
And she set up a website, didn't she? 2 days before, crying and being so shocked and surprised.
Yeah.
I thought she was pretty cool, actually. When she did Promises Questions, she was better than Corbyn, and
Well, the first time, the thing is, she was up against George Osborne, who's a bit of a flake.
Yeah.
PMQs. And the first time, she made jokes and she came across incredibly confident. Mm-hmm. The second time, she was actually pretty banal, pretty average.
I think it was the first time I saw.
Yeah.
I don't normally watch because it's just a waste of time.
I mean, she seems alright, but I mean, if the issue is with Corbyn's presentation being unprofessional, whatever you want to call it, Angela Eagle isn't the kind of slick person they're going to get off. She speaks incredibly slowly. She's got a very high, whiny voice, which shouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
But for people who are saying Jeremy Corbyn can't present himself,
she can't either.
Well, she can't either.
I think the Tory party are putting themselves in a much stronger position having Theresa May. They almost certainly, as a time of, I don't know when it's actually happening, but we're down to 2 as at time of recording, because it's a woman. That helps massively, I think, but probably doesn't help with the sort of extreme end of the party. But so people are more likely to vote for them, I think, because they think, well, it's good having a woman prime minister. So even if we had Angela Eagle, they don't have that advantage anymore.
No, I actually think Theresa May would be better for Jeremy Corbyn to face, because can you imagine Theresa May doing what David Cameron does? Get up to the dispatch box, bluster and shout and bully and all that. She can't do that.
But actually, those two are much more interesting because they've actually got political polls of positions. Proper polls, not just left and right, which doesn't mean anything.
Well, actually, you think about it, I see Theresa May as a more traditional conservative.
Yeah.
A very
social conservative. Yeah. The ones I don't like, really. Or proper authoritarian, doesn't like human rights and things like that.
And the story is that Jeremy Corbyn is a traditional Labourite. They call him hard left and all sorts of stuff. When actually, until there is a manifesto, we don't know what.
That's true.
Jeremy Corbyn is.
Yeah, he just says nice things. Yeah. he doesn't say, let's have communism and 100% tax for rich people. He doesn't say that, does he?
Yeah.
If he was hard left, that's what he would say.
we've got to seize the means of production.
Yes,
I mean, come on.
He did say we need to have comradeship, though.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, that is an important word for the Labour Party.
I suppose.
But,
I don't think they should use that word.
One of the announcements that McDonald came out with about how we should deal with Brexit is this idea of passports for financial services. So the financial services have access to the European Union. That doesn't sound very hardcore left wing to me.
It certainly doesn't. It sounds neoliberal.
It sounds very middle of the road, actually. It's acknowledging the fact that although we've been led up the garden path a little bit by financial services, they are a critical part of our economy, and that we should do what we can to support them in the situation. That's been completely blown over by all the crap regarding the leadership and everything. But people should listen to that and say, actually, what are these guys' positions? Stop calling them terrorist sympathisers and pro-IRA and all that kind of stuff. Actually listen to what I say, because you're stuck with them. Yeah.
Well, the pro-IRA argument, what they're saying is, we don't want peace in Northern Ireland, we should still have war and fight and kill them.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. And Jeremy Corbyn is saying, no, we want peace. Simple.
Very troubling times in the Labour Party, because there is definitely a clutch of people who think they are the progressive side of Labour, and actually they're
not progressive.
They're not progressive at all.
Well, you think about it really, that they're now the old farts who have been replaced by a progressive, younger, energetic group, possibly.
Yeah. Over 500,000 members now.
Isn't that so? I mean, what's the record for party members in any party? That's an awful lot.
Yeah, it's more than in 1997. I think it's maybe a post-war record. They're heading for 600,000 or something like that. People are just joining.
But he's not electable. No, it's not the wider electorate, you see.
I
more than 97.
In the traditional sense, perceived wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, he's not electable. And that is part of the problem. Our media pass off perceived wisdom as news. Yeah. In fact, they don't question it. They don't look at it. Well, what's going on here? Why has Jeremy Corbyn won the Labour leadership by a landslide? Not snuck in.
They don't even say that, do they? They say he's there, but everyone hates him.
And it's so unpopular. It's all these momentum lot and infiltrators supporting him. Yeah. But actually, the figures showed that he had the broad support of the Labour membership. It's still put out there is actually momentum and entryists who are supporting Jeremy Corbyn, and it's not true at all. Yeah, why is this happening? Why are so many things happening in the face of received wisdom?
Yeah.
Why aren't they questioning it?
Yeah, it's not.
It's lazy journalists, they're hacks.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's easy to say, well, they're obviously lying, but it's just confirmation bias and etc., isn't it? It's what they believe.
I actually think it's
not that they're not lying. Some of them.
I think it's easy to explain when you take in the fact that you have less reporters covering more stories, papers making not as much money, putting pressure. So they've got a very short time frame to cover a story. So of course you're just going to get the
accepted.
Yeah, the accepted version of what's happening.
Yeah. Oh well.
Do you think Jeremy Corbyn's gonna survive? I mean, last night I was looking and it seemed fairly settled, but it's kind of erupted again today.
Yeah. Well, he didn't leave after Chilcot. That was what people suggested. Maybe he's holding up Chilcot so he can apologise for that when he's in that position. But he's so popular. It will be. I think you said this last week. That maybe if he gets rid of the ringleaders, the rest of them will have to fall into line, or two-party solution. SDP or they'll join the Lib Dems.
I don't think that's the solution though.
Well, the problem is they'll have to end up in coalition. So how would that work? You can't do it.
I mean, you may get a rump of hardcore Blairites, the acolytes, who simply can't accept Corbyn go. So, Chris Leslie, they may go. And I don't think that'd be a particularly bad thing, because I actually think there's a big part of the PLP that have tried to make it work with Jeremy Corbyn, but you've had this group.
They'd rather have a Tory government than a successful Labour Party that isn't their right-wing Labour Party.
Yeah. So
why are they in the Labour Party? You think the mentality of them starting out and thinking, I'll join the Labour Party because I'm really right-wing. It doesn't.
I don't think it. I think they genuinely think they are progressive. Okay, so Jeremy Corbyn's platform isn't disputed amongst people. No one's saying the Labour Party shouldn't be for this. Yeah. What seems to be up for debate is how much the Labour Party should equivocate to make themselves electable.
Yeah, moving to centre ground and all that, compromising. Like
again, the received wisdom is if they don't equivocate, then they can't win electable. Whereas there are the newer members, and actually the more traditional members who vote for Corbyn, are saying, actually we're sensing a bit of change in the wider electorate. Across many countries, that maybe people are ready for something a little bit more.
Yeah, dislike of the compromise of the third way centrists. You know, Cameron's whole thing was, well, I'm just going to be Blair too, basically, isn't it? It's about, you know, the same thing. He saw Blair as sorting out the Labour Party. He was sorting out the Tory Party. You know, and it
Failed.
It did fail. But he got a majority once, possibly. Ish.
Well, a couple of MPs. Well, you know, what's his majority? 12 or something like that.
And they cheated as well. But still, they went from Michael Howard, something of the night, and Whittaker and people like that, and, you know, sort of completely toxic, and only the hardcore. They're still getting votes, obviously, but it was only the hardcore were voting for it. And obviously, the perception is that's what's going to happen with Labour, but it doesn't look like it at the moment, does it? Tories didn't have 500,000 members in 2001, did they?
They've got 100,000 members. So 100 less than Theresa May is going to 100,000 people are going to vote for the Prime Minister.
Well, we don't know, do we? All bets are off. We do not know, and that's well, it's bad, but it's also interesting.
Yeah.
We are a bunch of unelected bureaucrats, and we will see you next week. Probably talk about Lib Dems next week, I think. Yes. Goodbye.